Hi everybody, this is Cheryl Richardson. I'm here a little bit a little bit early to see if this is going to work in the space that I'm in. So if you can hear me and see me, if you could just send a thumbs up or a heart, that would be great. That way I know it's working. I was having a problem earlier. I did a Facebook Live for the Hay House Hay House's Facebook page. And where I started said I had a weak signal and I had to leave and like race around the house. So I think I fixed the problem. Thank you. Yes, I did. Hi, Kisa. I did fix the problem. It's working. Yay! All right. It's a rainy Monday here. It's like foggy and it's kind of romantic. It's sort of one of those days where, you know, there's fog hanging like just above the trees and it's kind of silvery, misty, and it's in the 40s. I don't know what it's like where you are, but boy, we're waiting for spring, and it's just not getting here yet. But I'm trying to just be in love with the present, like I teach. Anyway, so I'm here to do some coaching, like we have every week. Here to take your questions and to support you in any way I can. Let me say hello to a few people before we start. Hi, Teresa. God bless you. You're always here. Kisa and Jelena from Bosnia. Hi. And Laura from Toronto. And Susan, you love fog. I do too. I do too. It's really, as long as I'm not driving, it's actually really quite beautiful. Dejana, hi, welcome. And Joanne from North Carolina. Gail from Newtown, Connecticut, and hi Jade, and Claire. Hi Claire. Yeah, you're in London. I wish I was in London. I would like to be there. Namaste from Norway. Hi Anya, and Susan from Florida. That's where my mom is right now. She took a trip with her best friend. First time she's ever traveled without my father, and I'm glad she's safe and sound in Florida and having a good time. I should say this is Cheryl Richardson. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a coach and I've written lots of books, Take Time for Your Life and Life Makeovers, The Art of Extreme Self-Care. I was fortunate to write a book with Louise Hay called You Can Create an Exceptional Life. And I did live an exceptional life the whole time I was traveling and writing with her. And so I make a point of doing these Facebook Lives now on a weekly basis at least. And you can always find out when I'm going to be hosting them by subscribing to my weekly newsletter, the weekly blog. If you just look right up at the sign up button on Facebook, you can sign up right there, nice and easy. Or you can go to CherylRichardson.com and you'll get advanced notice about when I will be hosting a Facebook Live coaching conversation. Hi, Carolyn from Spain, and what did I see? I saw William from Brazil. Hi, William. And yes, Kayla from North Alberta and Susie from Australia. Boy, we just have people from all over the world here. It's always, who would have thought? Sandra from Mexico. Hola, Sandra. Who would have thought that at some point, you know, I remember like 2 years ago saying to my husband, you know, I'd love for there to be a way that I could connect with people without having to get on an airplane all the time. And boy, do we live in an amazing time where you can use technology in this way. It's quite extraordinary. Last time I did a Facebook Live, I talked about a self-care tip of drinking enough water, which I left my water in the other room, but the importance of drinking water. How it was a really important act of self-care. And this morning, when I was doing a Facebook Live for Hay House, I talked about sleep as a very, very powerful and important act of self-care. So I thought I would just start by talking a little bit about, by just offering that as a self-care practice for this week, along with drinking water. If you in drinking water, you're supposed to drink half your body weight, so pounds and ounces. Last time I did this, I realized I've got people from all over the world. So if you weigh 120 pounds, you should drink 60 ounces of water. So you can convert that a day in an effort to really keep your body hydrated and functioning at an optimal level. Sleep is also very important. I don't agree with the idea that, oh, if you can get away with 5 or 6 hours of sleep, that's great. I think most people really do need a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And I also think the body really responds beautifully to going to bed at the same time when you can, and waking up at the same time. I know I love to go to bed around 10 to get up at 6. That's what I shoot for. I am a morning person, but you know, if you like to go to bed a little bit later, as long as you can get up later, that works. It's important to know that, generally speaking, the body's wake-up hormones kick into gear after midnight. So the later you go to bed, you're sort of fighting against your body's natural instincts to slowly begin to wake you up after midnight, generally speaking. Of course, everybody's different individually, but trying to get to bed early and keeping the time consistent is really a great act of self-care, because haven't you ever had that experience where you have a great night's sleep and you wake up the next morning and you think, oh my God, life just seems so much better when you've had a good night's sleep. So for this week, that's my my little self-care challenge to you, is to make it a point to get a good night's sleep, to make rest, nourishing, consistent rest, an important part of your self-care practice. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to answer your questions and give you some coaching. So you can just focus, I can focus. You can just comment, put your questions right in the comment below, and I'll be able to see them. And I've got my little computer here in case I have a hard time reading them all the way. So go ahead and, thank you, Melissa says, I love your hair. Thank you. This is called, I just finished it. So thank you. You're very sweet, sweetheart. And hi from Italy, Barbara. Wow, we're traveling all over the world. Okay, I would like a new career, Jelena says, and have no idea. I'm currently teaching English in high school, and I really don't like it. I need to change my life and move far away. Any advice for me? Okay, here's why I chose this question. Whenever we're in a situation in life that we don't like or that we're not comfortable with, we often want to take some kind of dramatic action, a dramatic step, in the hopes that it will make us feel better. I always joke, with my mom, when I was a little girl, when my mother would get overwhelmed raising kids, and, my dad was working 2 and 3 jobs to support our family, and so my mother was home a lot raising the kids, and raising us kids. And sometimes she just would get so overwhelmed and so tired, and she would say, that's it. I'm going to pack a suitcase, and I'm going to get in the car and drive off, and I'm just going to keep driving. I'm never coming back. And it's only because she was so overwhelmed and so unhappy and felt kind of helpless about what to do that some part of her felt like she needed to take a drastic action. You never want to make major life decisions when you're in a place in your life when you're unhappy. You want to make small choices to improve your life one step at a time. So, Jelena, for example, thinking about 2 things. First of all, I think about looking for a new career or looking for ideas about the kind of work you want to do in the future as a treasure hunt. And in order to give yourself the time and the energy and the space to go on a treasure hunt, you need to have a consistent source of income so that you're not worried about paying your bills. Because when people are worried, they're consistently anxious, you have a sense of desperation, so it's hard to look for a new job when you appear that way. And also, the energy is off. I live life from an energetic perspective, and if I'm worried or scared or frustrated, I know that the energy I'm putting out into the world isn't the kind of energy that's going to draw back to me what I most want. So little small steps to improve your situation, keeping your day job or finding another job that's less stressful in order to have a consistent source of income would be the first step, Jelena, because then you can engage in a treasure hunt. Now, if you send an email to Chris at CherylRichardson.com, Chris, C-H-R-I-S, at Cheryl Richardson. Chris is my lovely assistant. Jelena, I'm going to send you a link to, I'm pretty sure we have a digital version of an audio program I did a long time ago called Finding Your Passion. And in there, I talk about what passion is, I address passion and purpose. And then I talk about how to uncover what it is you love at this time in your life, and then how to very practically go about pursuing new ideas. So I'm going to send you that as a gift. If you just send me an email to Chris@Cheryl.Richardson, let her know that we connected on Facebook Live. I think that, I talk about things like some of the things you can do to determine what you love is take a look at your bookcase. Go to wherever you keep your books, maybe next to your bed or in a library or, somewhere where you have all of your books. Take a look at all of the books that you've been reading and make a list of the different interests in your bookcases. Or go back to something like Netflix or Amazon and start to look through lists of movies. Sometimes what I've done is I've gone back, I've Googled Oscar-winning movies for a number of years and go back and look at the movies that you really loved and ask yourself why. What was it about those movies that really spoke to you? I mean, when I think of some of the early movies, Mary Poppins, I loved as a kid. Why? Because there was a way in which she was a teacher, and I think it spoke to the teacher in me. I loved Gandhi. I mean, I watched that movie so many times. Why? Because I was passionate about humanity and improving people's lives and taking a stand for people. And so that held clues. So the books we read, the movies we watch, the people we hang around with, the people you date. Do you know how many clients I've had who often date people who are doing what they really want to do? And so I would always look at, okay, who have you been dating? If you keep dating artists, chances are there's an artist in you that longs for some expression. So you can begin to think of this as a treasure hunt, Jelena, where you start to look at, you start to just pay attention. Pay attention to life. Like, I had no idea how deeply important nature and animals were to me. Now I know I love nature and I love animals, but I had no idea how deeply important they were to me until I finished writing my last book, until I went through and edited that book and looked at how many times I spoke about feeling so at peace and engaged and satisfied being in nature, or how excited I would get about the animals. Those of you who follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook see the pictures of the deer in my yard, the deer that just came. If you could look down a few, just a couple of posts, you'll see this deer right at my window looking at me because I've been talking to the animals. It's been something really important to me. So oftentimes the things that we love that are important to us are right under our nose. We just don't get it. We don't see it. They're too close. So I hope that some of those things are important and helpful to you, Jelena. And remember, don't quit your day job. Definitely. You want to keep your day job so that you don't get scared. Any ideas to help with sleeping, Christine asks. Yes. So I mentioned earlier, get in the habit of going to bed at the same time and waking at the same time. Some of the standard things, pay attention, caffeine, chocolate, sugar. Make sure that you really you limit that, especially, I would limit all of that. After 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I wouldn't be engaging in any of that, sugar or caffeine or chocolate, anything that has caffeine in it or anything that's a stimulant. Take the electronics out of the bedroom. I think we really underestimate the power of electronics to stimulate the adrenal system, cortisol in the body, making it difficult to sleep. Having a dark room really matters. If you can't get a completely dark room, do yourself a favor and get a face mask. You know who makes a great face mask is, what's the bed? Tempur-Pedic. The Tempur-Pedic beds, the memory foam beds. My sister Carrie turned me on to this a long time ago. There's Tempur-Pedic makes these great face masks that you just put over your eyes. You don't even feel it, but it blacks everything out. I do that when I go to hotels. It makes a huge difference. If I can't completely darken the room, And I also think using essential oils, lavender, sage, I like. I wouldn't use geranium. Sometimes I'll use rose oil. I love all of those kind of those beautiful essential oils. A warm bath before bed can definitely help. And then I also, I was going to bring a set here. I also use prayer beads. Mala prayer beads. I will often lay in bed and just go through the mala, either praying for people, praying for family members. My dad told me this. Before my dad died, I think it was in October, I was with him, and he told me something I didn't know about him, that when he went to bed at night, when he couldn't sleep, he would pray for his family, all of his friends, the in-laws, extended family. Then he would pray for clients and former clients. My dad was a tax consultant. And I remember, and my dad was also a genius with numbers. And I remember saying to him, Dad, really, you do that? He said, yes, there's like 110 people on my list. And he would just go through that, and that would help him to sleep. I use prayer beads. You could use rosary beads, mala, 108 beads. I find I can never get through a whole set of beads without falling asleep. So I would recommend that as well. Anne Marie says, what about menopause? So hard. Well, first thing, Anne Marie, is let's change your thinking about menopause. It has been a very important, exciting, powerful time in my life. I was very fortunate. One of my very close friends was 9 years older than me, and she used to always say to me, Cheryl, the older you get, the better life gets. Like, she really believed that. She celebrated every birthday. She didn't talk about her age, and she didn't count the ages, but she kept saying to me, she was always talking about what was great about the different stages of life, and she always talked about menopause being such an awesome stage. So I went into it with that expectation. It's been wonderful for me. I certainly would please read Chris Northrop's Wisdom of Menopause. It's just, her work is just seminal in this arena. And stop affirming that it's hard. Start deciding, Anne-Marie, adopt my belief. I'm going to give it to you that, start saying, menopause is an exciting time of life. This is a time for me. This is a time where I'm going to focus on taking care of myself. Now, if you're having tough physical symptoms, I'll tell you, I stopped eating meat, and I have no hot flashes. Like, all of my hormonal symptoms went away. Not everybody can do that, but it made a huge difference. Anytime I had a hot flash, I've said this before, I used hot flashes as a way to sort of determine what I was doing that I didn't want to do. If I started to feel my cortisol levels rise or heat start to rush through my body, I would just simply see that as a signal that either I was someplace I didn't want to be, having a conversation I didn't want to have, needed a timeout, and I would give myself that. And so I began to actually see them as a powerful signal, a helpful signal that was leading me toward feeling better in my life. So it was leading me towards living more authentically. So start to see it as a gift. And if you're having physical issues, please check out Chris Northrop's website, but also find yourself a great functional medicine doc or a naturopath. Because I think somebody who treats the whole body as a system is going to be your best bet, and they'll be able to help you. There's so many wonderful, wonderful tools now that are available to help women who are having physical issues with menopause. This is a special time in your life, Anne-Marie, that needs to be dedicated to you, to your health, to your needs. And it's going to start by you owning the truth and the power of that statement and doing something about it. And I hope that's helpful. All right. Let's see. Bonnie has a son, 42, who is a drug addict. I can't seem to figure out. The only thing I'm going to say about this, Bonnie, is you absolutely need to be in a 12-step program for someone who has alcoholism or drug addiction in their family. It's extremely important. Al-Anon might be a place where you can go. Getting involved in support groups with parents who have successfully supported adult children with drug issues, and there are a lot of them, is really important. Drug addiction is a therapy issue. It's not a coaching issue. Al-Anon pretty much saved my life, and I also think that it's a great support system for people who need to learn how to love others in a healthy way and how to focus on their own self-care. So please do yourself a favor and find a 12-step meeting near you. Don't just go to one. If you go to one and you don't like it, it doesn't feel right, go to another one. You know, they used to have a saying in Al-Anon, they probably still do, give 6 meetings a try before you decide whether or not it's for you. So please give 6 meetings a try, 6 different meetings if you don't find one. And imagine that the divine has a message for you and he or she is just waiting to deliver that message to you in a meeting. Sit in a meeting and just wait for the message. That's the first way to begin. I think it's a really smart and effective way to get the support you need. And Bonnie, I'm going to add you to my prayer list. I have a red journal, and I'm writing your name down right now. A beautiful red journal. That's my prayer journal, and I put people's names in, and I always do after this Facebook Live too. So. Yeah, you also look in here in the comments section because people are being so wonderful and they're offering you some support as well in terms of resources. Families Anonymous. Is there really a Families Anonymous now? That would be awesome. So let's see. Hi Donna. I'm glad you're still drinking your water, honey. Yeah, Anne Marie says water is holy hydration for healing. That's awesome. I love that. Okay. Oh no, Anya, it's midnight in Norway and you're listening to me. You're supposed to be asleep. All right, go to sleep and then you can watch this tomorrow. Great, Jelena. Glad that was helpful. All right, let's see. Let me look for another question. Let's see here. Okay. How do you, Andrea just wants to know, how do you make your dreams come true without the proper finances? You get a job. That's how I made my dreams come true. I worked in jobs that, I started out working in jobs that I didn't really like, but I had to pay the bills. And then eventually I would start to find more and more jobs that I liked. And before I ever wrote a book, or as I was building my coaching practice, which was really a dream come true for me, I worked full-time at a job. I built the practice on the side. And then as my practice built, I actually went from full-time to 3/4 time and then down to half-time. And eventually I was able to leave the job. So even if you're trying to start a business, or let's say you have a dream of being an artist or a writer, most writers have to work as well. It's very difficult to earn a living when you're writing. Even if you want to be an artist, let's say, you're still going to need to have a consistent source of income while you're building your work as an artist. So too many people struggle. I mean, they suffer to make their dreams come true, to start a business, to make their art, because they don't get a job to support them. Plenty of very successful companies all over the world were started by people who worked full-time and did it on the side. My dad did that. He worked 3 jobs and built the business over time out of our home and eventually was able to leave and work on his own. So that's the first thing. You got to get the proper finances. Then you can begin doing the dream job. Okay. Dejana says, any advice on how to survive medical school when one is too sensitive? I love helping people more than anything, but I always get too attached and can't stop thinking about my patients. This is just too much grief. There's too much grief. There is a lot of grief, you know. It's a really good question. I don't know exactly what kind of medical school you're going to, what you're studying. But it's a good question. You know, my husband Michael wanted to be a doctor, and he would have made an unbelievable doctor. But he just didn't. He said he was too sensitive. He was too sensitive to blood and gore, and just took in energy. So he made some adjustments in his career and wound up being a fitness expert and a psychotherapist, combining the mind and the body. And that worked great for him, and then would eventually write books. And so I think that, Dejana, I would encourage you to see the counseling, to go to the counseling center at your school. I bet this wouldn't be the first time they'd have a conversation. It would be interesting to look at what kind of tools you might be able to put in place to help you with your sensitivity. What I don't want is for you to like learn to suck it up or feel like you've got to put armor on you, because your sensitivity is your greatest gift. It's just about learning to protect it. I would have a hard time in certain situations. I don't have a hard time, for example, if I'm in a hospital with people who are dying, if I'm sitting at the bed of someone who's dying, I am in my element. I can absolutely be in that kind of a situation. If I'm with somebody who's in a lot of pain, I can't do it. It's just heartbreaking to me. So I find other ways to be of service. I think it's something, I guess what I want to say to you is I think it's really worthwhile you checking that question out, checking that, really looking more deeply at whether the path that you're on is the right path, or if there's a way to make an adjustment. Might you become a naturopath where you're seeing people and helping them, people who are in less dire circumstances maybe, and helping them to really improve the quality of their lives from a kind of solid foundation. I don't know, but I want to encourage you to don't think in terms of black and white. Either I have to be a doctor and learn to suck it up, or I have to quit. There's a whole gray area that I would invite you to consider. That's what I want to say. Okay. You guys are so funny. Mary Beth. Oh, you were at the retreat last year in April. Hi, Mary Beth. Yes. Hi. Nice to see you here. We have another retreat coming up just in a month, in the next Self-Care by the Sea retreat. They are awesome. I love them. And there are some spots left, so if you want to join me, I'll put a link when we're done here. You can be able to, Doris says, become a dog walker, great daily exercise. Boy, that's smart. I like that idea. Catherine, any advice on how to deal with the stress of taking care of an elderly, ill parent? Yes, because I've been there. And I do want to say that I am really blessed to have, to be one of 7 siblings. So the good news about that is I was able to share support. And my sister Michelle was really like the main caretaker for my dad, and she did an unbelievable job. I mean, my mother was really the main caretaker, but Shelley handled his physical, medical needs. I think it's really important to get support, Catherine. I don't know if you have any siblings or not. You can comment and let me know. We really need support. It's very difficult to do it on your own, and honestly, it's not good for you and it's not good for the parent. You both need a break from each other because it is trying. The other thing I think that's important that a lot of people don't talk about is when we enter a stage where we're taking care of an elderly parent who's not well, I think it's a really spiritual time of life. And if we take it on as, if we make a decision to enter into this process consciously, compassionately, and intentionally, with the idea of using this experience to help us grow, to cultivate compassion, to cultivate good self-care, then it doesn't feel like such a burden. You know, there's so many experiences I had with my dad before he died that have changed me. My whole relationship with my dad has changed me, but because I took it on, I decided that there were other things I was just going to put aside. You know, my career was not going to be as important as being present for my father. I wanted my relationship with my siblings to, I learned how to deal with siblings who might have had different thoughts and ideas that I did. And I learned about being a better human being and not being so reactive and learning to, I just took it on as as a growth opportunity, Catherine, I guess is what I'm saying. And but I couldn't have done it without support. If you don't have siblings, then I would really encourage you to go to care.com where they've got resources. You know, if your parent belongs to a church, if there's a senior center, there's great resources at senior centers. I don't know if you're in the States, but Medicare will pay for health professionals to come into the home. So just if you're overwhelmed, ask a good friend to investigate some support resources for you, so that just doesn't feel like one more thing on your plate. We would do that in my family. We would spread different, one sister would do research about resources that were available. I had really good friends that offered to do the same. Friends who would, my sister-in-law Diane, who was wonderful, was like a resource crazy woman, and just would be able to provide resources. So I would really encourage you to get support and take breaks. And sometimes it's going to mean that you're not going to be able to be there for that parent in the way that you think you should, but you need to take a break so that you can be there for them in a loving way at some point in the future. So I hope that's helpful, my dear. Let's see. Yeah, Catherine says, Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil's breathing exercise to fall asleep is also very helpful. You can Google that. I know that I often will, just to calm the body down, deep breaths into the belly automatically lowers, it helps the body to just, what's the word I want to use? Metabolize cortisol. Sometimes I think about cortisol as like these little Pac-Men inside, and deep breath just automatically eliminates. It's like those Pac-Men just go away. So Google Andrew Weil's breathing exercise, breathing in through the nose slowly for a count of 4, holding the breath for a count of 4, and then breathing slowly out of the nose for a count of 4 will help calm the body down. By the way, the minute you close your eyes, your brain starts to make alpha waves instead of beta waves, which are the busy, noisy, fast-talking, fast-moving brain waves. Alpha waves actually calm the body down, and that's how we prepare for sleep. So closing your eyes does that. That's why doing it now and then during the day is a great idea. All right, let's see. Oh, good. Joe's embracing menopause. I'm so glad to hear that. That's great. Let's see. Okay, good night, Eileen. She needs to sleep now. So Cindy, trying to get through job loss from illness, a relationship ending, and losing my home of 23 years. I feel alone. So first of all, let's everybody send Cindy some love, please. Cindy Lewis, I see you here, and I've seen you here. Yeah, you're not alone. I know it can feel that way. I really know it can feel that way. And sometimes we just are alone. But there are people here who, even right now, look, there's people like sending comments here, which is beautiful. Like, let's all just take a moment and close your eyes and just beam Cindy Lewis some love. Just imagine sending her white light, sending her lots of hearts. You're probably going to be challenged to reach out, Cindy, in a way that might feel uncomfortable. Whether it's a local church or a support group at a local healthcare center. There are a lot of them around. I don't know where you are. You can tell me where you are. It's times like this when we're really challenged to reach out for support when we feel like we can't. But boy, we need to. And so we're all just beaming you love and courage and the strength to reach out. Cindy, if you send an email to chris@CherylRichardson.com, what I'll do, if you want, if you're up for it, I'll give you the Art of Extreme Self-Care online course that happens for the year. It started in January, but that's okay. And if you join the My Life Makeover group, the Facebook, if you just look for Life Makeover group on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group. You can join that. There are people there who are looking for partners to go through this program with. I will give you that as a gift. You can find a partner on the Life Makeover group, and you can begin to, one small step at a time. You'll have access to the course. You'll have access to my my lesson each month, and then you'll have access to some people who I know would love to support you. So send an email to chris@cherylrichardson.com. Let her know that we connected on Facebook, and I'll put that in place for you. And thank you, everybody, for sending her lots of love. And and I'm going to say Al-Anon too. Once again, Al-Anon is a great place to go when you need to focus on yourself, and there are meetings all over the world for free. So please consider checking that out, Cindy, as well. No, Melissa, I didn't know that Serenity Prayer was also prayed in Rome years ago. It's interesting. So Ria says, I'm pregnant with my first baby. Any tips to stay positive when times get tough? All right, so I've never had children, so I'm not supposed to give pregnant women advice. But I will say this, Ria. Tell people not to give you their labor stories, their birth stories, unless they're really lovely and wonderful and positive. Because too many friends of mine have said, oh, God, people tell you all their stories. And I think that I think your first baby's really lucky to have you as a mom. And I want you to know that every audience of women I've ever had, when I've said to them, how many of you know that if your mother took extra special, better, good care of herself, your childhoods would have been better? Every hand goes up. So anything you can do right now, Ria, to take good care of yourself, cut yourself a lot of slack, don't do things you don't want to do, get lots of good rest. I don't know what the tough times are about, except I would imagine it's scary to think about bringing a child into the world. It's a big step. But I bet you're going to be a great mom. I really do. And the fact that you're here and that you're asking that question, the tapping, if you go to my YouTube channel, Cheryl Richardson TV, if you go to YouTube and then just plug in Cheryl Richardson TV, use some of the tapping. There's one video, it's an old video, but a lot of people watch it. It's tapping, yes, EFT does help. Tapping, tap away your anxiety. Go to that video and just go right along with it. Tap right along with it. I think that will really help. It will also calm the baby down. What's happening in utero, the baby's picking up all of that. So anything you do to calm your energy system is going to also take care of that baby in utero. So I wish you all the best, and I'm also going to put you on my prayer list too, because I know you're going to be a great mom. I really do. Your baby's very lucky. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Freddie's going on my prayer list too. I see that. And let me see. Paul wants to know, how do we overcome the voice that tells us we are not as good as others? Well, you can start, first of all, Paul, it's interesting, when you look at the tapping therapies, it's all about embracing that voice. So for example, if you were going to be tapping, you would say, even though I have this inner critic in my head who's always mean to me, I love and accept myself. Even though I have this voice inside that tells me I'm not as good as others, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Or I accept this voice. Sometimes what I do is I actually journal. I take out a journal and I give that voice room on the page. I just let that voice go. Sometimes I'll use different color pens. I might use a blue pen and say, okay, voice, what is it you want to tell me? And then I use a different color pen to let that voice speak. And I let that voice go for a while. Because usually what's going on underneath that voice is there's a scared little kid or a scared teenager. And sometimes that scared teenager, once he knows he's got your attention, will give you some really valuable wisdom. So I would try doing that with a journal. Also, I would do something simple, like put my hand on my heart, Paul, and I would just say to that voice, what's going on? What's going on? Why do you keep telling me this? Like, what are you trying to tell me? What's going on underneath the part of me? What's going on underneath that voice that's telling me I'm not as good as others? You know, whose voice is that, by the way? A lot of times, you know, as adults, as kids, we take in the voices of all of the authority figures around us. We internalize the critical voices we heard. So that voice needs presence. It needs to know you're paying attention, but you also need a strong inner ally, Paul, that's going to speak up and go, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I might not be like Joe or I might not be like Susan, but I'm like me and I've got a lot of valuable assets. Like, you want to counteract that voice with a strong voice of an ally so that you have a dialogue between those two parts. I do that a lot. Sometimes, quite frankly, Paul, I just tell that part of me to shut up. There are times where I can just be so critical and I'll just say to myself, all right, knock it off. Enough. That's enough. You don't get to speak to me that way. Like, that's how I talk to myself. Try that too. It must sound like I'm crazy, right? All right, let's see. Let's do any criticism of Abraham Hicks, the fact they are non-physical, are they held to a higher standard, or do you think their work is flawless? I have no criticism of Esther and Abraham. I think, you know, there's one of their videos on YouTube is Everything is Always Working Out for Me. I listen to it all the time, Thomas. It uplifts me. It raises my energy. It puts me in a good state of mind, and it has me be a better human being. And I think anybody who's putting work out there in the world that has people grow and evolve and be better human beings is all right by me. And there's some beautiful, they call them rampages on YouTube, really positive, powerful messages. And I don't think anybody's work is flawless. My work certainly isn't flawless. Believe me when I tell you. There's, you know, I could go back to any book I've written, and if I were to rewrite it today, because I've grown, I would be adding new things to the book. But who I was at the time when I wrote it, it's as authentic as it can possibly be. I think flawless as a standard is a recipe for trouble. It's an invitation for misery. All right. Let's see. Hi, Kamal. Hi, Kamal. I have to call you. Let's see. When is the next By the Sea retreat? It is April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And again, like I said, when we finish here, I'll put a link to the YouTube channel with the tapping videos, and I'll put a link to the retreat as well. Hi, Kathy. I'm going to see you at the retreat. I saw that you registered. I'm looking forward to meeting you face to face. She's like a super fan, Kathy. She's so helpful with everybody, and I appreciate that so much. Let's see. Oh, I love you too, James. Thank you. All right. You know what? I think I'm going to, hi, Margot. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate you all so much. I love being here with you. I really, I get such a kick out of doing these, and I will, by the way, all of the Facebook Lives are getting posted to YouTube afterwards, so this will be up probably sometime tonight or tomorrow morning. And that way you can go back and revisit it, especially if I offered you some advice, you can go back and, you know, listen to what I have to say and take better notes maybe. So thank you so much for being with me. I'll do another one next week. So if I never know exactly when, so make sure that you're subscribed to my newsletter. Just look at the sign up button, right? It should be like, yeah, it's right up above me. You can just click there and sign up for the newsletter so that you'll know when we're going to be doing the next one. But in the meantime, thank you. Have a wonderful week. Remember, good night's sleep. Chamomile tea. Snuggling with the pet. Okay, that's how I'll end this. Rescue an animal and then snuggle with that pet in bed. You'll go out to sleep in no time. It'll be fabulous. I love people who rescue animals. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.